All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Crazy Horse Memorial. My name is Whitney Rencountre the second, and I come from the Hunkpati Dakota Oyate, which you're probably more familiar with the Crow Creek Sioux tribe right here in central South Dakota. For the next 45 minutes or so, my family and I, we're going to share a little bit of songs and dances, a little bit of stories about our people. But we want to welcome each and every one of you and thank you for joining us. Sit back, relax, and I'm going to start out with the opening song, as we always like to try to start our gatherings with this song. So we're going to start things out in this way, and then we'll go right into the presentation. All right, thank you. Thank you for being here today, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I grew up on a small reservation right here in central South Dakota, and kind of been spending our lives here in the Black Hills, and we'll be sharing some hoop dancing with you, some jingle dress dancing, and so we're excited that you all have decided to join us here today at the Crazy Horse Memorial. And our people, we call ourselves the Ocheti Shakowi, which translates into the seven council fires. We are composed of the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota. And we have the three language dialects because we're such a big tribe. We live all the way, we spanned, historically, our ancestors would travel as far south to Oklahoma and all the way up into Canada. Obviously, spending most of our time here in the northern plains, near the Missouri River, near the Black Hills. And our people are known to most people across the world as the Sioux tribe. How many of you have heard of the Sioux tribe? And it was actually the French fur traders that gave us the name Sioux. And long ago, as the French fur traders were making their way across our land, United States, Canada, all the way throughout, they were asking the different tribes about other tribes and learning. And during these times, one of the greatest gifts that you could give to somebody amongst our people was a buffalo robe, was a hide that was prepared, smoked, kind of prepared like leather. Then you left the fur on the other side like a coat. And our people, we hunted the buffalo. At one time, there was 30 to 60 million buffalo that lived in this land, this beautiful place. Some of the first settlers said when they came across the first buffalo herds, they had to stop and wait for one buffalo herd to go by. They documented that they had to wait for 8 days. How many of you can wait 3 seconds at a stoplight? 80,000 buffalo in one herd. And when we hunted the buffalo, we used every part of the buffalo. So we got food, clothing, shelter, all from the buffalo. Many more things, tools. You could Google it and say uses of the bison or the buffalo, and it will show up a kind of a diagram to show you the different parts of the bison. And I use bison and buffalo interchangeably because our people, we say buffalo. We didn't know about the buffalo over across seas, but most scientists will say bison. Nonetheless, our people, as we hunted the buffalo, we had to offer prayers in advance because sometimes you would not come back alive hunting the buffalo. Very dangerous. And so today, as indigenous people, we like to go to a place called Walmart. Kind of hang out over there. Because it's historically in us to get everything at one place. Nonetheless, when we hunted the buffalo, we had the utmost respect. We offered a prayer before and after. We thanked Creator that everything, because at one time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about one tribe today so far, but there was over 600 different tribes all throughout the country, all with their own languages, their own tradition, their own way of life. And so we lived throughout this nation, throughout the land, throughout North America, living our traditional ways. Now, our people, we consider the Black Hills, this beautiful place, the birthplace of our people. The creation story of our people derives from this beautiful land. We have 7 sacred sites all throughout the Black Hills. And one of the traditions of our ancestors was during the spring solstice, we would hike up to the top of Black Elk Peak, the highest point in the region. And then we would do this during the spring solstice to welcome back the rain, the thunders that replenish Grandmother Earth. And so this tradition, even through all the changes that have happened to our people, still continues on to this day. And so our people, as we had our interactions with the new people that came to our land, such as the French fur traders. Now, the French fur traders, they called us Sioux, the Sioux tribe. Because when they were traveling around, they were asking the other tribes about our people. And they came across the Chippewa tribe. And they were asking the Chippewa tribe, they said, who's that tribe that lives by the Missouri River? But during these times, the Chippewa did not understand French. So they had to rely on interpreters. And so as they were talking and explaining and so on, and the interpreters went over there and they were interpreting and so on and so forth, eventually the French fur traders said, Nadawi Sioux. They cut it in half and just said Sioux. So when they came to meet our people, they said they were greeting our people, our ancestors, and then we heard them saying Sioux. They were calling us Sioux. So our ancestors were asking the interpreters, what does that mean? What does Sioux mean? The interpreter said, well, they said the Chippewa, long story short, when they were talking to the Chippewa, They were asking them, who lives by the Missouri River? What's that tribe? But the Chippewa misunderstood, and they thought they were asking them about snakes. So they're actually calling you snakes, enemies, and adders. So our relatives were looking around. Why are they calling us that? We are Lakota, Dakota, Nakota. And so the interpretations historically, the communication amongst people was at best minimal. And so, nonetheless, the land that we're here, Lakota, South Dakota, North Dakota, they're named after our people. So they got it right. Nonetheless, these are some of the things that have happened historically amongst our people. And so our people historically love this beautiful place called the Black Hills. We love this land. And so the lives of our people historically began to change around the 1800s. And the relative that's being honored up here on the mountain, the memorial, is after Tashunke Witko, Crazy Horse. When Crazy Horse was born, even though he was full-blood Lakota, he was a little bit lighter skin than the other boys. His hair was just a little bit lighter. So they called him Gigi. And so as a young boy, he encountered some other boys kind of teasing him at a young age. And so this adversity as a young boy, Crazy Horse spent a lot of time by himself. He had mentors. He spent more time with the elders than he did with children his own age because of this. So as a young age, Crazy Horse learned how to master, and he learned how to make the bow and arrows. He learned how to shoot the bow and arrow with accuracy. He learned all these things as a young boy. And so as he was growing, he was very intelligent. He was very courageous. And so this proved to help him later in life. So as his life began to move on, so did the lives of our ancestors and our people. The Oregon Trail was coming through our lands. Lewis and Clark expedition coming through the land here. And so during this time, as more and more people came through the land, a historical gathering took place in 1851 at Fort Laramie, Wyoming. Tashunke Witko, Crazy Horse, was just a young boy at this time, but he could not believe all the leaders of all the tribes of the Northern Plains were here with the United States government. And the United States government said at this meeting in 1851, they said, if you allow the safe passage of the settlers, if you allow these relatives to come through, we will present you with gifts. We will give you some tools, some annuities. We will provide you with food and all these other things as long as you allow the safe passage. And on that day, they had this large map. And so our relatives were looking at this map. And the boundaries were listed. They said, if you allow the safe passage of the settlers, we will allow you to live on this land, hunt the buffalo, live like you've been living for centuries in exchange. And it was the boundaries on this map were east bank of the Missouri River, right down central South Dakota, right over here to the North Platte River into Nebraska, over to the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming, back up through the Cannonball River in North Dakota. Our people were able to live there, and it was protected and preserved by the United States government. This lasted from 1851 to 1868. Then it was reduced to just half of South Dakota. Nonetheless, it still preserved the Black Hills until around 1873, 1874, the arrival of one named General George Armstrong Custer. Custer found gold in the Black Hills. The gold rush began. You could not keep the people out. So this led to the Black Hills Act. United States government offered to purchase the Black Hills from our ancestors. Our relatives said, we cannot sell the Black Hills. Creator, put us on this land. We have many traditions. We gather here with the other tribes. We gather here for medicine. We take care of this beautiful land. So to this day, the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota people have never sold the Black Hills. Nonetheless, this led to what the United States government referred to as the if you do not sell, you will starve. So this was called the Sal or Starve Act. They said you will move to a reservation. Nonetheless, during this time it was difficult because 30 to 60 million was now down to less than 1,000 buffalo. 100 million of our ancestors now down to 750,000 or less. There was many tribes that were extinct, many tribes that were no longer with us. So during this time, Tashunke Waitko, Crazy Horse, this young boy who grew up with adversity in life, who is now a young, courageous, intelligent leader amongst our people. Tashunke Waitko answered the call of our grandmothers, of our mothers, of our aunties, of our relatives to help protect the remaining of our people. And so Crazy Horse stood up because Custer was coming with the 7th Cavalry to enforce this Sal or Starve Act. So Crazy Horse joined up with Sitting Bull, Inkpa Duta, our people, with the Northern Cheyenne and the Arapaho tribes, and they met Custer June 25th, 1876, at the Battle of Little Bighorn. This young boy who grew up with a lot of adversity led our people during a time that we needed him the most. In the early 1900s, ladies and gentlemen, 25% of all Native people that were left volunteered for World War I using our languages. Over 30 tribes used their languages to develop codes that saved the lives of many U.S. soldiers and our allies. For their service, the code talkers from these tribes were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank them for their service. So growing up on a small reservation here, I learned from my grandfather a little bit about the drum. The drum is an important part of our people. These drums, they represent the heartbeat of our people. My grandfather, he would teach me these songs and he would share them and he would teach us. And one of the songs that helps us, especially during this pandemic, during this time of struggle for our people, is a great song by the well-known, world-renowned Porcupine Singers. And they sing this song for our people during this challenging time. And so I'm going to share this song at this time, and then afterwards I will help interpret it so that you'll understand what I'm singing about. Yahweh, La Coechaca que dablos que hoe okay pe gane tekelo hey wache wecha shake ya ocha tama kashnielo wa ya La Coechaca que dablos que hoe okay pe yare tekelo wache wecha shake ya osha tamakashnielo La Coechaca que dablos que hoe okay pe yare tekelo wache wecha shake hey ya ocha tamakashnielo. All right. Song by the Porcupine Singers from the Oglala Lakota Nation. And that song here, it talks about that if you do not practice your traditional ways, they will die. And so it's important for us to continue to share and to practice and to teach our little ones about our traditions. And they said during this song, when the dancers come into the circle, when the singers are sharing these songs, that the ways, that our traditional ways will come through, will continue forward. And so that is why my grandfather taught me as a young boy to carry on these songs. Because understanding historically, it was the old John Wayne movies. If many of you might remember the old John Wayne movies, my grandfather used to watch those. And I remember hearing in those old movies, there was this sound one time. I said, Grandpa, what's that? Well, my grandfather, he said, Hollywood has to sell tickets. So there's always a good guy and a bad guy. And we were always the bad guy in those movies. But he said, grandson, when you grow older, I want you to teach people that they don't have to be afraid of that drum because it brings life to our people. When we sing, when we dance for the relatives that have terminal illnesses, the relatives who are going through a hard time in life. Because this drum beat reminds them that as long as your blood is pumping through your body, as long as you have life, there's always a chance. And so that is why we share these songs and dances. That is why we as singers sing these songs. And so, nonetheless, we have to break down some of the stereotypes throughout history about our people, about many people across the world. And that is why education is important. I grew up on a small reservation in South Dakota, but growing up, we realized that living on a reservation is not our traditional way. Our traditional way is the way our ancestors lived. From sunup to sundown, they were working hard. They were taking care of their people. They were sharing their time and energies to help their relatives to live. And so these are the traditions of our people. And so as I was going to school on my reservation, I met some teachers that have encouraged me and inspired me like my grandfather. And so I made a decision to become the first male in my family to leave the reservation and go to college, to graduate from college to get my degree. And from there, today, now, I am the associate director here at the Indian University of North America, right here on the Crazy Horse campus. And we have over 36 students from over 20 tribes across the nation that are here this summer to earn 12 college credits from the University of South Dakota before they go to college, because education is important. You know, early on, when we first moved to the reservation, it was very difficult for our people because we did not understand English. So there was a lot of missionaries that came to our reservation. And early on, they asked Grandpa to come to the church. So Grandpa, he went to church. Next thing you know, Grandpa was over there all the time. After a while, in our language, we were saying, Grandpa, do you understand English now? Grandpa, he said, yeah. No. We said, well, how come you go to church all the time if you don't understand them? Grandpa said, every time I go over there when we're done, they serve me a lot of good food. One time they said they want the whole family to come with Grandpa. So everybody got ready. Grandma, she was looking very beautiful. She put on her traditional regalia. We all got ready. Next thing you know it, they took us down to the river. And we watched them. They walked our grandfather into the river. And then they dunked him in the water. And they pulled him up. And they said, did you see the Lord? Grandpa's confused. He don't understand English. So the translator had to ask him. So he told the translator, yeah. So the translator said, he said no. So they dunked him again. Pulled him up. Did you see the Lord? Grandpa's looking around confused. He said, yeah. So they dunked him a third time. This time they held him down a little bit longer. Grandma, she's getting worried. Pulled him up. Did you see the Lord? Yeah. They were going to dunk him a fourth time, but this time we heard Grandpa hollering something in our language. This is what he was saying. Hold on, wait a minute. Are you sure this is where he fell in? And the translator was telling Grandma. And so Grandma went over to Grandpa and she was saying, hey, they said you got a blessing today. But see, early on, we don't understand one another. Throughout history, a lot of misunderstanding. So today we're thankful that you're here to hear from our people in this way so we could teach you a little bit about our way of life. And so without further ado, at this time, I'm going to invite my 5-year-old daughter, Mila, and she started out as a jingle dress dancer, then she was a fancy shawl dancer, and then last summer, for the first time, she saw the hoop dance. She fell in love with the hoop dance, and this summer, she was gifted 2 sets of hoops from 2 of the relatives that she saw, Ella Bearshart and Carlos Benali. So let's give a warm welcome to Mila Rencountre. So last summer, Mila was dancing with 1 hoop, and that's how she was kind of learning and practicing and so on. And then this summer, she spent a lot of time. We want to say thank you to Carlos Benali and Ella Bearshart. So now she has 2 sets of hoops, and she's been practicing, so we'll see if she can use more than 1 hoop this time for you all. While she's dancing, you might see a flower. You might see her make the design of a bird. You might see her make the design of a butterfly. She might even shoot a bow and arrow. She might do all these things. If she shares them with you, you're welcome to share some encouragement and give her a round of applause if you see these designs throughout her dance. And my wife made her regalia here, her brand new dress that she's wearing today, and then her grandmother's also helped with her beadwork and such. So let's give Mila a warm welcome. All right, one more time, Mila Rencountre, 5 years old. You know, when she first started dancing, I was watching her dance. She was kind of struggling at first just with one hoop and so on. And I said, "Baby, let Daddy try out your hoops." She looked at me. She said, "No, Daddy, you're too chubby." Yeah. Nonetheless, at this time, I'm going to introduce to you our jingle dress dancer, my wife, Jessie Taken Alive Rencountre, comes from the Hunk Papa Lakota Nation, right up there, central South Dakota, a small reservation. It's actually it's one of the larger reservations because it's in two states. Half of it's in South Dakota, the other half is in North Dakota. And my wife and I met at Black Hill State University. And my wife went on to get her master's degree from South Dakota State University. And she wrote a children's book called Peta Shows Me Sue the Light. And she won the 2017 Great Plains Emerging Tribal Writers Award for her first book. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to Jessie Taken Alive Rencountre.
Good afternoon. How's everybody enjoying the show so far today? Awesome. Looks like we have some cool weather as well. You know, I like to start off by introducing myself in my Lakota language, even though somebody or people here might not understand it. That's always what I was taught by my parents and my late grandparents. So I start off by saying, "Midakyapi, ambetu washte, chante washe na pechuzapi, wichachpi tumpi wina, Jessie Taken Alive Rencountre imachiapi, hunk papa Lakota imataha." What I said to you today in my language is, "Good day, relatives. I greet you all with a heartfelt handshake. My Lakota name is Wichachpi Tumpiwi, which means woman who was born from the stars. My English name is Jessie Taken Alive. My married last name is Rencountre, and I come from the band of the Lakota called the Hunk Papa Lakota. Many of you may have heard of the name Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull, just like Crazy Horse, was a great leader amongst our people many years ago. Sitting Bull was specifically a leader amongst our Hunk Papa Lakota, whereas Crazy Horse was a leader of our Oglala Lakota relatives. You know, I grew up on the Standing Rock Reservation, like my husband said, and I was blessed to grow up around our beautiful Lakota language, our ceremonies, our songs, our culture. You know, when I was done with high school, because my late grandfather was a huge advocate for the education, you know, and he said that, you know, in order to be successful as a Lakota today, he says we have to learn both ways. We have to know our culture. We also have to know the white man's education as well too. And so we walk in both worlds is what he talked about. And, you know, he became one of the very first educators here in South Dakota many years ago that was the first Lakota people here educated. He went to Black Hill State University. I followed in his footsteps. I went to Black Hill State University as well many years ago. My freshman year there, I met a very handsome young man there. I kind of miss him. I'm just kidding. I met my handsome husband there, you know, many years ago, my freshman year. You know, we've been married for over 20 years, and we have 4 beautiful daughters, ages 20, 14, 12, and 5. This man right here is the most patient man on earth here, living with all females. But we travel extensively throughout the United States and Canada, attending many different powwows. But we also have the opportunity, the privilege, and I say the responsibility to share with other people all around the world exactly what you're seeing today, our historical knowledge or the facts of our people, as well as our modern day culture, the dances and such. You know, this has taken us all over the world, across the oceans to places like Italy and Switzerland, down to South America. My favorite place to do this is right here in these beautiful Black Hills. For centuries upon centuries, our Lakota people have referred to these Black Hills as the heart of everything that is. We say there's important places here on Mother Earth that are vital and crucial for all of us. An example of this is down in South America in the Amazon rainforest. Our indigenous sisters and brothers that live down there, they call that the lungs of Mother Earth. And they said that they benefit us even all the way up here in North America. They said if that rainforest were ever to disappear, we would all suffer the repercussions of that. Scientists say there is truth to that, you know, and likewise here in these Black Hills, our Lakota people, we say that this is the heart of Turtle Island, the heart of Mother Earth. And, we've known this for centuries. If you're a sciencey person, a scientific, factual person and stuff, you'd be kind of interested to find out something. We can take modern day technology like an aerial image or a satellite image of these black hills. And when we take a look at it, we can see that these black hills are shaped in the like a human heart, not Valentine Cupid heart, but the human heart. And if we take pictures all throughout the 4 seasons, fall, winter, spring, and summer, and we play those images like a video, it looks like that heart is beating. It's a very beautiful reminder to us about the beauty, the significance, and the sacredness of these black hills. My husband might have told you that there's 7 sacred areas here in the Black Hills. Depending on where the stars are located, our people will travel still today in 2021 to one of these 7 sacred areas and conduct our ceremonies. Just like other cultures, we for thousands of years have always believed that as it is here on Mother Earth, it is in the heavens or the stars above us. So we can take these 7 sacred areas, a map of them, and there is a mirrored image map up in the stars. Just to the south of us is a place that is now referred to as Wind Cave. Wind Cave is unfortunately a tourist attraction today, but it's one of those 7 sacred areas to our people. Just like other cultures all around the world, we too as Lakota have our own creation stories on how our people came to be. The shortened version of the story, takes place here in these Black Hills, but specifically at Wind Cave. If you were to go on a tour of Wind Cave, one of their tour guides might tell you that they've explored close to 120 miles of this cave and they can't find an end to the cave. As Lakota people, we say they might not ever find an end to that cave because of the stories, our sacredness, and the history. Like I said, the shortened version of this says that many years ago, our Lakota people once lived way inside Mother Earth, and 4 Lakota couples emerged out through that cave. When they got out here, they realized it was very beautiful, but very different. They didn't know how to survive. They tried to go back down and find their people, and they could not find them. So they were forced to come back out here and live. Because it was so different, they lived almost a very pitiful way of life at first. Lucky for them, somebody came along and told them, as long as we are here, your Lakota people will be here as well too. We will take care of your people, providing you food, clothing, and shelter. From that day, we took them as our relatives, and still to this day, we acknowledge them as our big brothers and our big sisters. And who I'm referring to is the Buffalo Nation. Like my husband was sharing earlier before, we utilize everything from the buffalo, from the horn to the tail. Everything had a purpose. Nothing ever left behind. Now, a small glimpse of our history and our perspective of these Black Hills. And this is why I say that this is my favorite place to share our culture and our history, because this is our birthplace, our homelands, and the heart of everything that is. We're going to get into some modern day dancing that you might see at a powwow. Has anybody ever here attended a powwow? Show of hands. Few people, awesome. There's a couple misconceptions about powwows. The first misconception is that people think you have to be Native American to attend a powwow, which is false. In fact, anybody's welcome to our powwows. We like to showcase our culture, have people come and listen to our songs, watch our dances, and just show that we're still here as Indigenous people with our culture and our songs. The second misconception is that people believe that this might be some type of religious gathering, which is also false as well. Powwows are more of our social gatherings. It's where we dance, we have fun, we eat food, we make new friends, and sometimes we even meet our future husband or our wife at these powwows. Now, because most powwows today are now competitive, we dance and we compete against other dancers based on our age category as well as our dance style, the dance group style. And, we compete for thousands of dollars at each powwow. More recently, we've now been competing for brand new cars and vacation packages. So that kind of shows you anybody's welcome to these fun social-like, sporting-like events. If you were to attend a powwow, you would realize that there's 3 main dance categories for us female dancers. I'm going to showcase to you my favorite style of dance. It's called the jingle dress. And the jingle dress, originally is not a Lakota style of dance. Actually, it derives to us from our neighboring tribes over to the east. We know them as the Anishinaabe. That's their name for themselves as well. You've probably heard of them as our federally recognized tribal name, the Ojibwe. Now, there's slightly different versions on how the story goes of how this dress came to their people. I'm going to share the version that was shared with me from my good friend. She's an Anishinaabe woman, a jingle dress dancer, and the great-granddaughter of the first original jingle dress dancer. So the story says that 101 years ago, there was a little Anishinaabe girl by the name of Maggie White. Maggie became very ill, very sickly, and nobody knew what types of natural medicines to give her because this was a new illness. In fact, it was an illness that was sweeping the world. And so her grandfather was praying, and he remembered ever since he was a young boy, he would have this reoccurring dream. And in this dream, he would always see a dress. On this dress hung different objects. And he realized that this dress had something to do with the healing of his granddaughter. Their family made this dress. And, Maggie was so ill. She was very weak. They had to help her dress. They had to help her stand. In fact, they said her female relatives, they stood on each side of her, holding her up by her arms out like this. As the singers started to sing on their drums, they helped Maggie dance. As the song progressed, Maggie became stronger and stronger, and soon she started dancing on her own. They said that by the time the evening was done and the songs were done, that Maggie was healed. From that day, this dress has been known as the medicine dress or the healing dress. Maggie did go on to live a long life, becoming a mother, a grandmother, even a great-grandmother, passing away in the early 1990s. But when she was first healed as a young girl, the story of her healing, the story of this dress, it spread like wildfire all across the United States and throughout Canada amongst the hundreds of different tribes. Many of our tribes, including our Lakota people, we've adopted this into our own culture. Today, we utilize this at powwows. And a lot of people will ask, if this is a medicine dress or healing dress, why do you utilize this at your social dances for competition dancing? Which is a fair question. But even the Anishinaabe who also utilize this at powwows will say, it doesn't matter where you're dancing. You can be at a jingle dress ceremony, a powwow, or even a presentation like today. When a young girl or woman puts on this style of dress and she dances, healing energy still comes from this. Those of us that are honored to wear this style of dress, we always make sure that we remember first and foremost the origin and the purpose of this dress. And so we carry ourselves in a good way when we have it on, especially we watch our thoughts when we dance because we never know who's going to receive that healing from our dance. And so just like other things in life throughout time, things evolve, and so has this jingle dress style of dance. We still have what we call the original or old style dancers. They come to powwows. They also compete in the jingle dress category as well too. Their dresses are filled with jingles. There's hardly any designs on their dresses at all, and their dresses are very loud. They have a very simple, very graceful and beautiful style of dance. There's nothing fancy about their footwork. They kind of just shuffle their feet a little bit. We also have contemporary dancers like myself where we like to get a little bit fancier with their footwork. We like fancy designs that kind of tell a story on our dress. Our jingles might not be as much as the old style jingle dress dancers. We don't have as many jingles. We also like blingy material from Joanne Fabrics. And, we do carry the eagle tail fan and we wear the eagle plumes in our hair when we dance. A lot of people ask us why we utilize the plumes and the feathers from an eagle. As Lakota people, we believe the eagle is our special relative who's responsible for carrying our prayers up to the Creator. Creator then takes those prayers, touches that eagle, and so we acknowledge that these plumes and these feathers have been blessed by our Creator, and we hold them in high regard. Not only do we utilize these at powwows, more importantly, we utilize these in our healing ceremonies. Now, as contemporary dancers at powwows, when we're dancing, we hold our fans up in the air at certain parts of the songs. People ask why we do this. We do this for a couple different reasons. Some of us will hold our fans up in the air to honor the spirit inside that drum, because without that spirit paired with the singer's voice, or the singer's voices, we cannot have our songs, our dances, our ceremonies, and our honorings. The other reason is some of us will acknowledge an energy coming from this dance. We ask these feathers to help spread that energy out to whoever it's meant to reach to today. I'm going to be showcasing to you the contemporary version of this jingle dress dance. I'm going to ask my husband to sing 2 songs for me. The first song is what we call the straight song, our opportunity to showcase our own style, our own footwork and such of the jingle dress style of dance. The second song is what we call the side step. The side step is the original type of dance or song that this dress belongs to. The type of song that Maggie danced to 101 years ago that brought healing, except I'm going to be showcasing the contemporary version of that. So without further ado, here's the contemporary style of jingle dress.
All right, song number 2 is going to be a jingle dress sidestep, the original dance that the jingle dress dancers would dance, long ago. And if you ever get a chance to come to one of our celebrations where all the jingle dress dancers are out there together, it's a beautiful sight to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're ready for song number 2, make some noise. Here we go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah. Yeah, hey, hey, yeah, hey, ah, 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 hey, 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 oh. Yeah, hey, hey, yeah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah. Hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ha, ha, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, yeah, 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 hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, ha, hey, ah, yeah, hey, ah, yeah, ha, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ha, ha, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ha, ha, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, yeah, all right, what do you say? What do you say? All right, what do you say for Mila and my wife Jessie for the dancing today? You guys have been such a good crowd, and we appreciate you being here today with us here at Crazy Horse Memorial. And we're going to continue. We encourage you to continue to learn more about our people, not just through song and dance and the stories and so on, but there's plenty of awesome authors, plenty of awesome historians, and as well as talented artists all across this nation. So if you get the opportunity to learn and to share, we encourage that. To close out our presentation today, I'm going to ask my wife to share some closing remarks with each and every one of you.
All right, catch my breath here. In our Lakota language, we have a very beautiful yet simple phrase that we say. We put it at the end of our prayers, or sometimes we utilize it in a prayer all in itself. What we say in our Lakota language is midakoye owase. And what that means is we are all relatives. We're all connected. We are related. Because we believe there is one creator who has created everything that is living in this world and this universe. It should never matter the color of our skin, the language we speak, or where we even live in this world, because we all come from that same creator. That makes us relatives with everyone, no matter the color of our skin. Makes us relatives with every living thing, the plant nation, the animal nation, and such. There's a prophecy made many years ago by an older Lakota man. And in this prophecy, he talked about how the sacred hoop of life is broken. He said that's why our world is the way it is today. That's why we have the division, the racism, the fighting, and the wars. But he says one day, there's going to be people that come from many different directions. He says they're going to gather, and they're going to have different colors of skin, different cultural backgrounds. He said some of them might even speak different languages. But he says they're going to gather as one with an open mind and an open heart. And he says when this happens, the mending of that sacred hoop of life will begin, and our world will start to become a better place again. And even though we are gathered here at Crazy Horse, this always gives me hope that maybe this prophecy will begin, because you look around us, we come from different directions. We have different colors of skin, cultural backgrounds, yet we are gathered as one with an open mind and an open heart. This gives me hope that maybe someday that these little children that are here, that they're going to be able to experience a world far greater than us, than what we're experiencing, one filled with more love, kindness, compassion, and acceptance. Our Lakota word and our language for children, as we call them Wakayaja. Waka means sacred. Wakayaja means the sacred beings. And we call them this because of where they just came from. They're born into this physical world, already knowing about Midakuye Awase and knowing how to treat each other. If you watch them play and interact, especially those little tiny ones, they're beautiful teachers. They remind us of something that we're all born with. And when they play with each other and interact with each other, they don't see differences. They don't care about the color of skin or cultural background. They don't even care what language the other one speaks. I've witnessed this many times where little ones will laugh, play, and have fun speaking different languages. It's when they grow older, a lot of them forget this teaching because they see what is role modeled around them in society, and they start to learn to fear what is different than themselves. And, it is my hope that it's these children that are here, that it's their generation, that is going to bring unity to our people all over, to be able to embrace the beautiful diversity that our Creator put here on earth, and to love one another. And so I love children so much that I made my professional career out of it. I work as an elementary school counselor with many little ones. Over the years, I've worked with children with many different cultural backgrounds and colors of skin, never mattered their age. When they walk through my office, there was always one common question asked, and that is, why do people do hurtful things? And that's a difficult question for anyone. And sometimes even as adults, we ask that question too, why people do those hurtful things. And so, I came out here to the Black Hills and I prayed and I asked Creator for guidance in my work with these little children. And something beautiful happened 2 nights later. I was given a beautiful dream where a very, very old man came to me. And in this dream, he took me someplace beautiful and he showed me something very beautiful and shared with me a message. And he asked me to share this message with as many children and people as possible. I took his message and I turned it into a story. Later, by popular request, I turned it into a self-published book, and I was blessed enough to win the Great Plains Emerging Tribal Writers Award for this book right here. And so we do have these for sale up here on the stage in a couple minutes here after the presentation for $20 cash or card. But it's people like you that come from all different directions, different cultural backgrounds, where you take this old man's message and you put it into many different homes, classrooms, and libraries. But with that, on behalf of my family and I want to say pilamaye, which means thank you in my language, for coming today and allowing us to share a small, small glimpse, a small sliver of who we are as Lakota and Dakota people. We want to wish you safe travels and wherever you're traveling from here. And in my Lakota language, I like to end by saying, Doksha ake wachionkinkde, which means we will all see each other again. And I believe this, even if this is not in the physical form. So with that, safe travels, pilamaye, midakoye owase. Thank you.